Welcome back to my GH Fans channel. Let's get started. The moment Josslyn starts looking too closely at Cassius, I can feel the air in Port Charles change. Not in the obvious way, not like some big dramatic alarm going off, but in that quiet, dangerous way General Hospital does when someone has stepped into a story that is much bigger than they understand. And I keep thinking about Josslyn's face, that determination she gets when something does not sit right with her. She does not just let things go. She never really has. That is what makes her strong, but that is also what makes this whole thing feel terrifying to me. Because this time she is not just poking around some family secret or some messy personal betrayal. She is getting closer to a man who may be wearing Nathan's face, Nathan's history, Nathan's ghost, and there is something about this that does not feel right to me. I cannot help but feel that Josslyn is about to uncover more than she was supposed to. Maybe that is the entire point. Maybe this investigation was never just about Cassius pretending to be Nathan. Maybe it is about how far the WSB, Sidwell, Britt, and whatever remains of Faison's shadow are all tangled together in ways nobody wants to admit. I know the tease suggests Cassius is Nathan's twin brother, and that alone is already heavy. Because if he really is Nathan's twin, then this is not some random impersonation. This is blood. This is legacy. This is a twisted mirror. And with Faison connected to the story, I keep coming back to the idea that the truth may be more complicated than it looks. Because why now? That is what keeps bothering me. Why bring a Nathan lookalike or a Nathan twin into the open at this specific moment? Why risk people recognizing the differences? Why risk Maxie, Lizzo, anyone who loved Nathan, sensing that something is wrong? It seems like Cassius must be serving some larger purpose. Maybe Sidwell needs him as a pawn. Maybe Britt is protecting him because she knows more than she is saying. Or maybe Britt is trapped too, and warning Cassius about Josslyn is not just betrayal, but survival. I do not know. I really do not know. But I can feel the tension around Britt in this. She is not just casually giving Cassius information. She is telling him Josslyn is WSB. That is dangerous information. That is the kind of information that can get someone killed. And that is where my mind keeps going back to Josslyn. She thinks she is following the clues, but there is a chance the clues are starting to follow her back. Maybe I am overthinking this, but if Britt knows Josslyn is investigating Cassius and Faison-related information, then Josslyn's cover may already be cracked wider than Brennan realizes. And if Cassius knows she is not just being nosy, but is actually connected to the WSB, then everything changes. She stops being a suspicious young woman and becomes a threat, a real threat. And threats in Port Charles do not just get warned away. They get cornered. I can imagine Josslyn getting one step too close. Not in a reckless way, necessarily. Maybe she finds a record, a medical inconsistency, something tied to Nathan's death, or something that proves Cassius was never supposed to exist publicly. Maybe she discovers that Britt and Sidwell have been hiding the truth together, or that Cassius has ties to Faison that go deeper than anyone expected, and there is a possibility that Cassius panics. Or worse, he does not panic at all. He calculates, he waits. He lets Josslyn believe she is in control until she is isolated, until Brennan cannot track her, until she realizes the trap closed behind her before she even heard it move. I could be wrong, but Cassius kidnapping Josslyn would make a disturbing kind of sense. Not because he wants chaos for the sake of chaos, but because Josslyn represents exposure. She is young, underestimated, and emotionally underestimated most of all. People still see pieces of the girl she used to be, but she has changed. Being recruited into the WSB changed the stakes around her. Brennan changed the stakes around her. And I keep wondering whether Brennan made a mistake by thinking secrecy would protect her. Maybe secrecy is exactly what leaves her vulnerable now. Because if Josslyn disappears, Brennan cannot just storm in like a grieving father figure or a boss in panic. He has to think like a spy. He has to protect the operation. He has to protect his own role in recruiting her. And that restraint could cost precious time. That part really unsettles me. Brennan may suspect Cassius or Sidwell, but suspicion is not proof. And if he still believes nobody knows he recruited Josslyn, then he is boxed in. If he moves too aggressively, he exposes the whole thing. If he does not move fast enough, Josslyn stays in danger. I keep coming back to the thought that Brennan is going to be forced into the one option he does not want to rely on, Vaughn. And Vaughn. I mean, there is something about Vaughn's absence that has felt unfinished to me. Like the show put him somewhere on the shelf, but not in the forgotten way. More like the waiting way. I know maybe I am giving the writers too much credit. Maybe I am connecting dots because I want them to connect. But Vaughn returning right when Josslyn vanishes would feel almost too perfect. Not perfect in a neat, romantic way, but perfect in a messy soap way. He has the training, he has the emotional tie, and he has the kind of personal investment that can make a rescue both powerful and dangerous. Because if Vaughn comes back, I do not think it will just be as a soldier following orders. I think it could be as someone who still loves Josslyn, or at least someone who cannot separate the mission from what she means to him. And that is where things get complicated. Love can make someone brave, but it can also make someone reckless. Brennan may need Vaughn because Vaughn can move in ways Brennan cannot. He may not be tied to the same public pressure. He may be able to go off book, but if Vaughn is emotionally compromised, then Cassius or Sidwell could use that too. What if that is part of the trap? What if Josslyn is not just kidnapped to silence her, but to draw someone else out? Brennan, Vaughn, maybe even Britt. I do not trust how layered this feels. Sidwell does not strike me as someone who makes moves without a second reason hidden underneath the first. If Cassius takes Josslyn, Sidwell may see it as leverage. Not just against Brennan, but against the WSB itself. And if Brennan has been operating in secrecy, Sidwell may already know more than Brennan thinks. That would be the cruel irony, right? Brennan believes the Josslyn recruitment secret is safe, while Britt has already told Cassius, and Cassius may already be feeding that knowledge back into a larger game. There is also Britt, and I cannot leave her out, because my feelings about her are conflicted here. I want to believe there is more going on with her than simple betrayal. I want to believe she has reasons. Maybe she thinks warning Cassius protects him from doing something worse. Maybe she is trying to control the fallout. Maybe she knows Josslyn is in danger and somehow thinks giving Cassius the truth will stop him from underestimating her. But that does not make it safe. It may make it worse, because telling Cassius Josslyn is WSB gives him permission to see her as an enemy, and once he sees her as an enemy, I do not know how easily he comes back from that. Then there is Nathan's memory hanging over all of this like a bruise. That is the part that makes this story feel almost personal, even for me watching from the outside. Nathan was loved. His loss mattered. So if Cassius is truly his twin, there is a heartbreaking possibility buried under the threat. What if Cassius has spent his life in Nathan's shadow without ever being known? What if he resents the man Nathan became, the love Nathan received, the life Nathan had? Or what if he is not evil in the way we are being pushed to fear, but damaged, used, shaped by people like Sidwell or Faison's legacy until he barely knows where his own identity ends? I am not excusing him. I cannot, especially if Josslyn becomes his target. But I do wonder whether Cassius is both victim and danger. That is the kind of thing General Hospital loves to do. It gives us someone who is doing something monstrous, then slowly reveals the wound underneath. And if Cassius is connected to Faison by blood, history, or conditioning, then maybe his actions are not purely his own. Maybe someone has been preparing him for this. Maybe pretending to be Nathan is not just a cover. Maybe it is part of some psychological inheritance, some obsession with replacing, reclaiming, or rewriting what Faison lost. Still, none of that changes what Josslyn may be facing. I keep picturing her realizing that she has been seen, that her questions were noticed, that her confidence, her training, her instincts, all of it still might not be enough when the enemy already knows who she is, and that is what makes Vaughn's possible return feel so emotionally loaded. If he is the one who finds her, then it will not just be an action beat. It will be a reckoning. He may see exactly how deep she has gotten into this world. She may see that no matter how much she wants to stand on her own, there are moments where survival depends on trust. But I also wonder if Josslyn will even want to be rescued. Not in the literal sense, obviously she wants to live, but emotionally? She has been trying to prove she belongs in this dangerous world. Being saved by Vaughn could shake her. It could make her angry. It could make her feel exposed. And maybe that is where the story finds its tension after the rescue, if there is one. Because Vaughn saving her does not erase the fact that she was compromised. It does not erase Brennan's secrecy. It does not erase Britt's warning. It does not erase Cassius knowing too much. There is a possibility that Vaughn's return is not just about rescuing Josslyn from Cassius. Maybe it is about exposing Brennan's operation. Maybe once Vaughn is pulled back in, the hidden chain of decisions starts to unravel. Who authorized Josslyn's recruitment? Who knew? Who hid it? Who benefits if she disappears? I keep asking myself whether Brennan is protecting Josslyn or protecting himself or trying to do both and slowly failing at both. And maybe that is the real danger here. Not just Cassius, not just Sidwell, not even Britt's secrets. The real danger may be that everyone is holding back one crucial piece of truth. Britt holds back what she knows about Cassius. Brennan holds back what he did with Josslyn. Cassius holds back who he really is. Sidwell holds back the larger plan. And Josslyn, poor Josslyn, walks into the middle, thinking she can uncover the truth piece by piece, not realizing every piece may be wired to explode. I do think Vaughn is the most likely rescuer. I feel that strongly. But I do not think his return will feel clean. I think it could open old emotions, old wounds, maybe even old guilt. If he comes back because Brennan calls him, then Vaughn is already being used. If he comes back because he finds out Josslyn is missing on his own, then his feelings are still driving him. Either way, he steps into danger not just with a mission, but with a heart that may not be fully protected. And I keep circling back to one uncomfortable thought. What if rescuing Josslyn is only the beginning? What if Cassius wants to be caught, or wants Vaughn to follow, or wants Brennan to reveal himself? What if Josslyn's disappearance is not the endgame, but the bait? The truth could be more complicated than it looks, and in Port Charles, it usually is. So yes, I can see Vaughn rushing back. I can see Brennan making that quiet, desperate decision. I can see Josslyn trapped somewhere, trying to stay calm, trying to outthink a man who already knows her secret. I can see Britt realizing too late that warning Cassius did not prevent disaster, it helped create it. And I can see Cassius standing in the middle of it all, not just as Nathan's fake reflection, but as the living proof that some ghosts do not stay buried. But the question I cannot shake is this. If Vaughn saves Josslyn from Cassius, who is going to save her from the secrets that put her in his path in the first place?